Welcome to another episode of Tuesday Tea with me, your host, Sweet D. And today I am so excited and actually really honored that my very, very, very dear friend, I love that I can call you a friend, is on the show with me today. Her name is Lisa Lewis. So welcome, Lisa. Hi.
Thanks so much for inviting me to be a part of your podcast. This is so
God.
exciting, Dominica.
It is so exciting. And I'm just going to go ahead and read her bio to you guys because this woman has a lot going on. I don't want to miss anything. I really don't. So here we go. Lisa Lewis made her vocation and avocation about helping individuals learn and grow. She has 40 years experience as an educator, curriculum developer, trainer, and public speaker. Lisa currently works as a transformational leadership coach for women, helping them connect the dots of work, life, and faith to live wholeheartedly as God created each one of us to do. She has 10 years in the coaching profession and uses those skills as she trains and speaks to groups. Lisa is a certified Enneagram practitioner, helping clients learn developmental paths through the lens of the Enneagram. And this is so amazing. Lisa and her husband, Colin, celebrated 30 years of marriage this July. Oh, it's so awesome. And they've also raised two amazing sons, and their favorite new role is now Mimi and Pops to three darling grandchildren. And they have two cats and a puppy, so the empty nest is full of fur. I'm so happy you're here. This is so fun for me.
Thanks so much. Yeah, it's fun for me too.
Well,
the tables are turned.
Indeed. Yes. For those of you who don't know, Lisa and I actually met via Instagram. I posted something and Lisa reached out to me and said, hey, I might need some of your assistance. And so we've actually known each other since, I don't know, I want to say 2018, early 2018.
I think that's right. Yeah, I was trying to run that back, and yeah, since 2018.
And you have been so fun to get to know. When I think about you, Lisa, you are just very real. Everything about you is so real. And not only were you a very fun client for me to have, but it's been really fun to be your client. So it's really rare for all of you listening or watching this on YouTube. I feel like it's very rare when you can find that sweet balance and healthy boundary between, hey, I'm going to be your client and you're also mine. But it just works. It just, it's a huge blessing. For whatever reason, God gave us each other to be able to continue to learn and grow. And it's just awesome to have you in my life. So thank you.
Oh, you are so welcome, Dominica. The moment that you and I had that first conversation, I just knew there was going to be some kind of connection going forward. And of course, at that time, I needed your help. You didn't even really know who I was and what I was offering. But to your point, God knew, and we've had all these different connections, and your healthy boundaries have helped in our relationship. So go back at you.
Well, thanks. Thank you. Lisa also is the podcast host of Let Go, Lean In podcast. And it is so amazing. I'm not just saying that because Lisa's a friend here, like truly. Every single week I listen and I'm like, wow, I'm consistently learning something new. And if you listened to, my previous episodes of Tuesday Tea, you'll remember that I talk a lot about noticing. And Lisa, in her transformational leadership way, in her just amazing coaching, has taught me to slow down and notice. And so, Lisa, with you as an Enneagram coach, when did you start to notice in your own life that you really wanted to be a coach and really wanted to guide women in whatever part of life they're going through? Because you seem to dip in and out of just these incredible stories. I don't know. You're very dynamic. You got a lot going on.
Oh, well, I am old. And so I have a lot of experience to draw upon, but you're very kind about that. It actually, my recognition that it would be a great path for me forward to work with women in a coaching relationship happened after I experienced some really hard life lessons. And I'm dodging the word traumatic, but I don't think I need to, because we're doing a lot more in the world around people's trauma experiences. And I lost both of my parents within 9 months of each other, right when I turned 50, which for those of you that are approaching any decade change, that always brings some like, oh, what's my life about anyway? But when something like that gets paired with trauma, it really was an impactful shift for me. And thankfully, I had great people around me. I was working with a really terrific Christian counselor. And then another friend suggested that I look at working with a Christian coach. I didn't even know what that was because I had been in sports in my youth. And I thought, why do I need a coach? I just didn't even know. And that was way back in 2009.
Hmm.
And so at that time, I thought, well, why not? Let's just see what this is about. And through working with her and learning about coaching, I recognized, oh, this might be a good next pathway forward. And so I pursued coaching training through Professional Christian Coaching Institute.
Wow.
And that was a transformational experience for me. So
Wow.
been 10 years now.
Oh my gosh, it's been 10 years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2011, I completed my training and started my coaching business.
Wow.
Yeah.
You'd think I would remember that.
It may be a detail I never shared. So.
Maybe I never asked. I mean, wow, 10 years. That's incredible. Yeah. So then what was the thought behind the Enneagram path? So I know that sometimes you offer group coaching around the Enneagram, and I'm sure you offer it like one-on-one as well. And I was fortunate enough to get to be a part of one of your group coaching sessions, which was amazing. And thanks to you, I use the Enneagram in my own business. That has really helped build and further cultivate healthier relationships between my team. And It's been so helpful. So how and why did that whole piece of your coaching start?
That's a great question. And there are several aspects to the answer. One of them being how I'm wired, because I'm a big believer in various assessments. And one of my strengths that I learned from the Strength Finders, so my top 5 strengths, one of them is learner. So I'm always looking for new information, new things that are going to help support what I do, but also how I live. And I came across the Enneagram, which is an ancient typology. This is not new, but I came across it in about 2014, just in reading. And it was very kind of casual. And there was a, take this quiz, that kind of thing. And I didn't resonate with the typology at that time. Yet I got my name on an email list as a result, right? So the newsletters kept coming, yada, yada, yada. And so I finally thought, okay, I'm not sure, but I keep seeing this and I think I want to learn more. So in 2016, I applied to be in a training program to use that as a coach. So I became a certified practitioner with Integrative 9 in 2016. And in that process, I took their assessment and learned that I was a different core type, which is 7, which happens to be all about ideas and enthusiasm. So that's part of the answer of how I came across the Enneagram. It's like, oh, because I love ideas and new things, and I get very enthusiastic about it. But honestly, to hear you say that you've used it with your team and it's helped in developing more healthy relationships, that is consistent feedback that I've had. I've had the privilege of coaching teams together and helping the team leaders continue to apply it within their organization. And that is the consistent feedback. It has helped in developing healthier relationships individually as well as within the team. So super powerful.
It is. That's the word. Just to be able to notice like my own stuff, right? And it's so interesting. So when I was younger, I took the Enneagram assessment and I was an 8. Then I took it again recently and I'm still an 8. But I always thought that certain parts of the 8 were just extraordinarily negative. And by doing this coaching around it with you, it's so amazing for me to know that I can pull from different numbers, like, because there's the points, right? The lines to different numbers that also make up my core type. And so it's fun to be able to pull from that information. I'm doing a horrible job of explaining this, but
Oh, no.
but it's been really it's been very eye-opening. So for any of you listening, if you're interested in the Enneagram, Lisa is like the go-to person for that, because it is so powerful, especially as a leader. It's been very eye-opening. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. I appreciate that plug. And if you are interested as you're listening or watching to learn more, I also make reference to some Enneagram masters and their teachings as well, because I consider myself a practitioner. So mine is about the application of the Enneagram, and I'm learning along the way as well. And so I love to be able to point to people who live and breathe the Enneagram so that you can learn as well. So yeah, you did a great job explaining it.
Good. I'm glad. And I will say that you, Lisa, are the queen of resources. And I love that about you. Just the other night, or was it last night? I sent you a text. I'm like, hey, I need a book about more information about business and leadership in the Enneagram. You're like, I've got one right here. Here it is. Of course you do. So I love that about you.
Well, that's back to that learner and ideas thing. It's how I'm wired. And finally, just accepting how we're wired and living into it, I think is the greatest gift that we offer the world. And that's part of what a transformational leader is. You keep learning and growing, and you hold your hand out to your people and say, hey, you might be interested in learning about this. I'm applying this. Hey, let's try this out. So it's a lot of growth and change. And so for me, it's just, I vibrate around it.
Well, it's exciting. It's all fun information too. And then learning how to apply it. That's huge.
Yeah, that's the difference. It's always, so what? You learn something, so what? If it doesn't move the needle forward in your work, in your life, in your faith,
then what?
So what?
I hear that. And I really took that to heart, which is why I hired you as my coach. I needed some extra support, and you came into my life in that way, in that role, at a very pivotal point for me to continue to grow and learn. And I will be forever grateful to you for that.
It's been a privilege to watch you really start to lean in to how you're wired and see the places that were out of alignment and make some really significant changes. And you've done the work. I just get to observe and encourage.
But you're so good at it. If someone is interested in transformational leadership coaching, what does that mean exactly? Because a lot of people, in my experience, even just when doing marketing for you, don't really understand what that means. Transformational leadership coach. So can you speak to that more a bit?
Yeah, it's a mouthful for sure. Here's the thing. I also have a master's degree in organizational leadership. And so I studied and researched about styles of leadership, and transformational leadership is a style, a way of leading. There are many different types. We can often think of a charismatic, authoritarian person as a leader. Well, that's a style of leadership. But what research is finding is that those who are willing to do their work and model and invite others into their own learning and growing and skill development are having a greater success with their team development than those who are saying, you need to do this, here's the timeline, get to work, I'll check on you in a week. Nothing wrong with that style. It's just that research is starting to show that this more relational development orientation is more beneficial. Well, it also, research is showing that women tend to lead in a transformational leadership style. And as you can see, if those of you are watching on YouTube, I have been around the block a few times, and leadership is not a mantle that has been easily shared with women traditionally. And so women often have a difficult time seeing themselves as leaders. And my passion is helping each woman recognize it doesn't matter if leader is in your title, you have influence, and it is a mantle that is given to you for purposes that sometimes we don't see right away. But how do we wear it and lean into it and be able to help others along in whatever circle of influence you find yourself. So transformational leadership coaching is especially focused on helping an eye toward women, helping an individual see themselves as a leader, identify any self-limiting beliefs that they have around the idea of leadership and their role that way, develop some strategies to let go of those kinds of self-limiting beliefs and lean in towards that mantle, which was given to us by our Creator. So that's a long-winded answer, but I hope that gets at what you were
It's perfect.
wanting to hear.
Yes. You always say what I need to hear. So it's perfect.
Oh, so kind. My goodness.
It's true. You're one of my favorite people. When I was thinking about starting this new podcast series, you kept coming to mind. It's like, I want Lisa on the show. I really want Lisa on the show because I mean, look, I'm only in my early 30s, right? But we all go through so many transitions as women and the caretakers and the caregivers. And it's just, there's a lot as women itself. And then you add on the business owner and the leader. And it's just, there's so many different facets to who we are. And we're all so unique. So to be able to have someone like you come alongside and say, hey, let's talk these things through has been invaluable. So,
well, yay. I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Yeah. So if someone wants to get in touch with you or get to know, more about your services, how can they do that?
Well, I have a very easy to remember website, Lisa Lewis Coaching, and Lewis is L-E-W, not L-O-U. So just lisalewiscoaching.com. And thanks to Dominica, I actually have a scheduling page. Yay. You click on the tab that says coaching and up pops a little video of me explaining what coaching is about and a link to my scheduler. And you can find a time that's convenient for you to connect with me. And I love to offer an exploration session for free, which is a 50-minute session. It's a real coaching session. And when you're curious about what it's like to coach with me, I show up and we coach and you find out whether or not it's something that would be the next right step for you. So I would love to have you just check it out.
That's a huge gift. Thank you. Oh my goodness.
Oh, and back to the Enneagram. Yeah. I am just finishing a whole series on the Enneagram and leadership over at Let Go Lean In podcast. So find that and you can learn about your core type and more about what it looks like for your type to show up as a leader.
I'll be sure to have links in the show notes as well. Thank you so much again for being on the show. It's always a joy to chat with you. That is it for this week, you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.